I'm not going to talk about how to build funnels, how to build a platform. Probably all of you are how to build your email drip campaign. You are already doing all that. I'm going to kind of pivot and maybe touch a little bit on mindset, but take you more towards how it all works together. Vinky, can you see my slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So is it like one or two slides, just to confirm?
Yeah, it's 2 pages, 2 slides.
2 slides. Okay, so let me change something.
Yeah, change it to the presentation mode, maybe.
Yeah, because that's, let me see if that makes a difference. What about now?
Yeah, this is very good.
Okay, great. So what kind of makes me, why you should even listen to me about this? And part of it is I'll share with you my story. As I was talk to people, I look back at my life and figure out when did I do my first capital raise? And that was kind of like I figured out in US. I did my first capital raise about 20 years ago when it was more like putting a JV together, when bunch of us got together and put 60 grand in our first flip. And that's how I got started. What I'm going to talk about is basically rooted in neurolinguistic programming and some part of our neurology. And the reason I talk about this is because I'm also an NLP trainer, and I've spent a significant amount of time invested in learning people's behaviors and figuring out what makes people move. So when we are doing a capital raise, it is important for us to understand that part. Irrespective of how many emails you send, how many texts you send, however good your platform is, or your VA is, or your copy is, or your design is. But if you're missing this one key element, you would not be able to raise much capital. So let's talk about it. So what constitutes us? What is stopping us from having our dream capital raise? Do we think it's time, it's money, it's knowledge, it's health? You can add anything to this list, basically. Fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, maybe even you are at the end of your life in a hospice, whatever you think is the worst situation you can think is holding you back, that if you have that point of view and that framework, it's going to be always difficult to take your next step. So it's all about that framework in which you are looking and in which you are going forward with your capital raise process. So what do we need to create our freedom? And when I say freedom, is you having that flexibility to move through and without taking care of the factors, basically, which are impacting your success. And that primarily starts from bringing more awareness to it. And that will set you up on a journey to a very successful capital raising. And sometimes it's not about what you do or what you have to do extra. It becomes more about simply letting go of what you are not. So moving on to the key factor, Winky said that we have to talk about the one important thing. And the one important thing I'm going to focus today is on rapport. And when I talk about rapport, and the reason I mentioned that mindset is because it has to do with your own internal rapport. How well are you in rapport with yourself? In what kind of neurology you activate when you are in rapport with yourself to come in rapport with what's around you. And for a moment, it may sound a little odd that I'm talking about the neurology and I'm talking about all this, and there has been a significant degree of research that how your neurology impacts your reality. And I would want you to just have a little bit of imagination and stretch the truth a little bit in your mind to give you the flexibility. And even if you have a total disbelief in this, for a moment, just for this hour, just consider these facts and these important viewpoints, which you can incorporate at different levels of your life to take yourself to a different stage of your capital raising experience. And it's not only limited to capital raising, because there's something called as cognitive mirroring. If you kind of take one skill set and use that one skill set wonderfully and beautifully, that can be mapped over to the other areas of your life. And this is a very important aspect of what I'm talking about. And similarly, if you have a belief, a worry, a concern, a problem, which sets the framework, it can demolish the best work you can do in any area of your life. So it works both ways. And of course, I already kind of preempted you that neurology is the key. You have these trillions of neuronal connections in your body. Your body is like a living, vibrating mechanism by which you are experiencing and connecting to the universe. And this will form the foundation of this talk. And I will build upon it to more from this global concept to a smaller concept where you can really use this, like how to put this neurology in use. So what are you feeling at this moment? How your day has been? What kind of interactions have you had? What kind of talk is going inside you? How is your body feeling? How are you relating to everything which is happening here in this conference, in this event, and relating to everything which is coming your way in your life? And all of that is impacting your ability to do, in this case, we talk about capital raise, but everything else. So as all of you know, as these neurons are firing, we are interacting, these EEG waves are being generated. We are not only interacting within our own sphere, which we are immediately aware about, but also beyond it. So this is the key. The connection is the key to being highly successful in the capital raise. If you don't feel the connection, and if you're not in rapport, and the rapport is more about focusing, it is not about just being like somebody else or somebody to like you. It is more about you being more aware of what other person needs are. What do they think? What do they feel? What do they fear? What is really happening with them? It is you helping others and in turn creating success for yourself. So what kind of neurology you are lighting up, that becomes the key in building that connection. And for a moment, just think about it. What kind of neurology or space you were in when you went in for your last capital raise, or when you talked about someone for partnership, or when you talked to someone about just going out for lunch, or even before just simply having a conversation, picking up your phone or getting on a Zoom call or coming into this conference. So what kind of neurology is being lit up is really guiding the totality of your universe at this time. So I said this kind of sums it all. The game of capital raise has a different degree of skill set. It's about connection. It's about leveraging. It's about aligning and working as a team instead of an isolated mechanism. And if you look at the spread of this picture, it's kind of very unique when I was putting this down. When I have focused the time, and I'll tell you a story, and that will explain it. So when I started in capital raising, I thought, in every event, I need to meet every possible person, collect as many cards I can get, and email every person I can find. And literally what I was doing is that I wasn't connecting. I was just blasting some information, which was ending up somewhere else. My success in capital raising began when I started really talking to people, to figuring out. So like yesterday, I was having a conversation with a medical device rep, and this was the end of the day, and he's a salesperson, and he came in and he said, I didn't come here to talk about the device I want to sell. I came here to talk to you about what I need to do to be better and plan for my retirement. And I'm like, yeah, tell me what's going on. And he said, I have got this $350,000 home. And what can I do with it? And my wife would not like me to sell it. She wants me to go ahead and keep this house. And she is worried about that, hey, if I keep this house, who is going to take care of it? So we talked, and then he figures out, I said, hey, I would love you to invest, but in reality, you want a very consistent cash flow. And finally, with that conversation, he decided to go ahead and do the Airbnb. So without talking to this person, and I have been talking to this person back and forth for 2-3 years, and he also told me that how his son is a civil engineer, and he's involved in land development, and they are working in Scottsdale, Arizona. And there was so much information exchanged, and there was so much value created for everyone. And this is a person who's 63-year-old, has worked all throughout his life. So we become, when we connect in reality, we become a resource. And by becoming a resource and by helping another person, that capital, and in that very moment, something weird happened. Initially, he was saying, I only have $30,000 to invest. And this is how it went. And after we were done, he said, I think by the end of the year, I'm going to take a loan from my Infinity Bank Universal Life, and I'm going to invest about $500,000. So this was a great example of someone who looks like, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I'm just building up what's about to come and figuring out how it relates to everything. So having that connection and having that conversation, I had no deal. I wasn't sitting there to pitch him anything. I was just sitting there to have a conversation with him so we can grow forward with helping him and see what comes out of that conversation, what steps of in life he is, what really makes sense for him, because he had no desire to take care of a boat and take care of a lake house and take care of everything else what was coming on his plate apart from working hard. And all he wanted to do was have $100,000 a year income to just not work this much, not travel this much, because he's traveling like 6 days a week. And we figured out that in 3 years, he would have that. And he was ecstatic. And it wasn't me telling him, hey, you come in and invest in my deal. There was no conversation like that. So it is very important to connect. And you know what happened? He said to me, in the whole idea is, okay, so how did I benefit from it? And it really doesn't matter. Because what matters is that I'm helping another individual to take a step at a certain point of life. And that step counts. That step counts as your success and everyone else's success involved in it. So what is a rapport? Rapport is a connection with the person. It's basically, it's when you get in rapport, people like you. But on the other hand, and you like them, but that's not the main purpose of it. The main purpose of it is for you to be in such a synchrony that you can move with them. You can shift the directions. You can pivot them. You can help them. So the biggest mistake when we talk about rapport is about, are the people going to like me? Or do I have to become other people? And that's very important, because it is really not that. It's you figuring out what that person needs. So like a person who is drowning doesn't want another person who is drowning with them. In capital raise, one of the important is you don't have to be a high net worth individual to find another high net worth individual to invest in your deal. All you have to figure out is, what do they need? Their need is, to preserve their capital, and you tell them that, how you can assist them. If it is good for them, they will come with you. If it is not good for them, you find an opportunity where that makes sense for them. So what is the challenge in when we get into it? We feel like, oh, we don't have that exactly the right alchemy we need to create the capital raise. And no one is going to understand what we have to say. Or we watch, okay, you know, this is too big for me, this is too small for me. We just don't go in. So what's missing? We're focused at the wrong thing. We're focused at the end result. We are not spending much time connecting. And when you connect, those connections result in tremendous amount of benefit, not for today, not for tomorrow, but for generations to come. That's how these people, wealthier people, become wealthy, because, hey, they've got a kid, you know, and the other person has a company. They send the kid for an internship. They learn that. That's how they grow. It happens like I was at work yesterday, and one of the physicians had a person from high school showing him how to cath. And we're saying, oh, we were talking, hey, how the healthcare reimbursement is going down, how everything is happening. But this is a high school kid spending a day with highly skilled cardiologists, learning what happens to the patient when they do all kinds of procedures to that person's heart. Do you think that kid is going to get motivated and is going to build connections when it's time for him to get into medical school, or when it's time for him to grow something in that direction, or create a new device, or work with a VC company to figure out the next cardiology innovation? Yes, he will. So when we are working together, we generate these unique opportunities, and that connection is the key. So what's the undeniable truths of rapport? You don't have to be like them. I already talked about it. Everyone out there wants to get connected. People have a burning desire to connect with someone. Very simple. No one wants to live in isolation. We are humans. In humans, the neurology wants to expand. That's why when we were sitting at home amidst COVID, people were going crazy. I was talking to my kid. He had his first day at school. He said, Dad, I loved it. I haven't been to school for 1.5 years, and this is amazing. I drove him today morning to school, and he talked to me about how wonderful his first day at school was. And that's the part. Everyone is out there to be desperate, to be connected and understood, whatever their needs are. So just find their needs, listen to them, spend some time with them. Well, what comes in our way? That's very important to understand. I apologize for these slides being a little bit too wordy, but I thought I will put it out there. And so the whole part is connection first, no agenda. Meet with people without an agenda. If you have an agenda, that agenda is going to become your focus, and the connection is not going to be there. And I see it whole day. People come in, they pitch me a deal. I say, I'm not interested. Somebody comes to me with a horrible deal, and I say, I like that person. I say, okay, let me look at it. We'll work it out. I'm working with a broker, and you hear the story of this deal, you'll say, Chander, why haven't you run away? Because I have a connection with that broker. The seller happens to be in a deal where he's selling, where 55 units can be potentially down because of the insurance issue. They had this storm damage. Insurance hasn't filed the settlement, and we do not know how much insurance money he will get. And he cannot release those apartments. So on a 180 unit deal, I'm looking at a 30% vacancy. Why I'm still considering it? Because I have a connection. And I'm giving him top dollars. So it's all about connection, because the connection was made not based on agenda, not based on selling the deal, but it was made before that. The deal came later. The other part is prejudgment. And that's very important. That's the filter we place upon ourselves
Their address.
to
That's
figure out,
Aaron's address.
and
They're saying that this address.
and the filters in the prejudging is very important, because how they look, what they remind you of, because we want to take a person and fit in a category. This is how this person look. If this person doesn't fit in any category, I'm confused. I cannot place that person. If I cannot place that person, I cannot move forward with that person. So instead of that, have a little curiosity. Just open up. I do not know what this person is, and be comfortable with that do not know. So for a moment, I would invite you to notice your filters. We all have one filter we use all the time. So for example, when you come home, you interact with your family in a different way. When you go to work, you interact with colleagues in a different way. When you meet a long lost friend, you interact with them in a very different way. You've got kids, you interact with them in a different way. And when we do that, there is a filter. And that filter is what's going to determine how we are going to interact with that person. Because that filter is controlling the outcome of that event. If we go in a place, hey, I do not know this guy, and we have that neurology lit up in us, and we go in, we will be a little unfriendly, even if we say anything or not. We will know, the other person will know that we are not following what we need to do or what we need to do to connect. So it's very important that we notice ourselves. And that's why I talked a little bit about mindset, because the frame in which you are setting yourself is going to set you for success or for failure. The choice is yours. So I want you to just notice the filter you are using today, even while you are here. Do you came in as a professional so-and-so having such a great attitude, or do you came in and it's curious, it's exciting. I don't know what new person I will meet. And all you need is one great person in your life to change everything for you. You don't need 2,000 people. You don't need 20,000 investors. You need just one person to come and fulfill that one particular need, which will propel you to the next level. And are you ready for it? Or are you wearing a glasses or a filter which will really not allow you to even see that person, even if that person was standing right in front of you? Even that person was in the same room you were. So last night we were having a conversation. There's a group which meets on Wednesday. And I was very curious, this person we haven't met. We just asked the question, hey, what do you do? He said, I do winery syndications. And we listened to him. We listened to him for 15 minutes without any of us talking. And he gave us this whole idea how he takes people's money, generates 30% returns for their life. But those returns start after 5 years. Is this for me? May not be today, maybe tomorrow. But what it is there's a connection. There's an awareness. There's an ability to reach out to a person. If I have someone who is looking, hey, I have to just put this money away I don't need for 10 years, but I want really high return on it. So that's the person I'm going to go to, because now I have found someone who is beyond real estate, but he's combining the real estate in wine. Who doesn't drink wine nowadays? I think with COVID, everybody's drinking wine, it seems like. And he has priced the wine between $10 and $25. He was very excited how he has improved his operations by cutting down from 30 people to only 4 people for a certain area. And there was so much to learn from this person. So I would invite you to notice the filter you are using. Is it working for you? So today, I want to give you a little secret with that, how to make the connections. I want you to use the filter you use when you meet your friend, a real friend which you really like. So bring that friend's image in your mind and that memory. So when you are connecting, when you are really connecting, use that filter and what do you notice? Do you feel differently about these people? Do these people respond to you differently? Notice all that. Is there any difficulty going into this position? Are you resisting it? Are you resisting using different set of neurology? So your state, your mental state determines your outcome. The state you are in determines the rapport and connection you are getting. So be very conscious. Be very conscious of your awareness, how you feel, what filters you are using, and how you are interacting with another person. And see if you can elicit these different filters with different people and see if their response changes. You can just work this out even with a friend. So practice it. So for example, if someone is really laid back and you get really a fast talking type A approach to that person, it's not going to work. Because they are going to feel disconnected. They would not know what to do with you. So I'm kind of very laid back. I get like super A+ person who is pushing me something. I back off. So what I'm saying is shifting you from just being focused on you and dealing on your deal or on your agenda to focusing on the person in front of you with whom you want to connect. So just push yourself. What does this person need to feel? What do they need? Just even ask them, hey, what do you need? What's stopping you back from growing and reaching out to the moon? What would they like to listen to? What would be the best news they want? And can you shift your filter to interact them at their level and meet them where they are? So there are three positions we can be in any relationship. We can dominate it, command like a boss in your office. We can subordinate it, or we can equal like as a friend. And use all these capabilities to move through stuff, move through a relationship. And that's where your flexibility comes. And it's very important. To be successful and to be influential, you need to have a flexibility. And even in that conversation, you should be able to shift between being dominant when you're making a point which is very important to you, to being subordinate, which you can give up, or even just discussing as a friend. You know who is really clever at being subordinate? Is your kids. They come in, they're the greatest teacher. They come in, they just slide in. They will tell you a story. They will even tell you that, hey, Dad, I don't want you to think this, but I'm saying this because this is what I think is right. So they have already taken your objection away right up in the front. You can just say, hey, this deal may not make sense to you, because for some people it would not. But if you give 5 minutes, I can see what I can share with you, what I am seeing. And if it is of your interest, we can talk more about it. If it is not, we'll figure it out at some other time. So in that very moment, you have shifted your positions. You're being a little subordinate, a little equal, and then being a little dominant in presenting the deal to them. So what is that flow of rapport? How it is flowing? So it changes throughout a conversation. So it changes literally throughout your relationship. How do you move through a conversation? How do you move through a relationship which you have that connection? So even during a conversation, there are times you will lead. There will be times when you'll follow, and there will other times when you'll just be equally going back and forth. So just even notice those conversations. I may be just taking you to a very deeper level. But even if you can get one thing out of this and create some flexibility in your behavior, learn to laugh, imagine, and be curious, be authentic, it will open you up. It will open you up from beyond your agenda, beyond your abilities, beyond your normal beliefs and programmings, to go further and go beyond. because then you become a listener, then you become a resource, then you become a person where people will seek out to you. They will seek out for you. They will come, they will travel. They would send you 30 emails to say, hey, do you have 5 minutes of time? I just need to talk to you for 5 minutes. I have this issue. Can you help me out with this? You can gather more information by being a subordinate student. You can just say, hey, I'm curious. I do not know. Can you just tell me? You can seek an advice. You can be like a dominant leader and suggest or command. But the choice is that even in the same conversation, you have to have that flexibility. And that's the key. Are you flexible with yourself? Are you flexible with your others? Are you flexible to have those filters through which you are experiencing others and experiencing yourself at the same time? So what I'm trying to take you to a place where there is a lot of neuroplasticity into its effect. It's not fixed. It's flexible. It's moving. It's flow. And from that flow, you are generating an extreme ability to connect. And from that extreme ability for connection, you get a reward which is 1,000 times bigger than that. And are you willing to explore that ability? And that's the key. What I'm going to go into have to do more about yourself. Some people call it mindset. I call it no mind, because mind is, when you say mindset, it's set. There's no flexibility there. So sometimes you have to lose that mindset to use your mind properly and move forward. So let's look a little bit into it. I would not go too deep, but just a small surface, so you can figure it out for yourself and move forward to have better connections, to have better rapport with people, and to really succeed. And there are a lot of very good people in this conference who are going to talk more about this. And there's some people who are just only going to talk more about this. So you're going to hear a lot of wonderful information from really amazing people. And I have listened to some of them, and they're great. So you set a goal, they don't work. They don't work. It doesn't matter how many goals you set if you go with the failure mindset. And I can't tell you how many people I hear, they will say, let me give it a try. The moment I see try, I say it's never going to happen. And if you have ever worked with me personally, and if you know me, the moment you say a word try, I would tell you, I would stop you. I'll say, listen, don't try, just do it. I would stop you there, because try, the moment you say, I'm going to try this, it means your brain has already assumed your failure. You are never going to succeed. The moment you utter that word, your language tells me you have failed. You cannot trust in your own success. If you cannot trust in your own success, then really the success is not going to come to you. Because remember, all those brains, neurons, everything else, you may be saying, I'm going to try, but your neurology is already telling me you have failed. It's fighting failure, failure, failure. So nothing in this universe is going to give you success, because you're sticking out with a board of failure. So your mindset, the way you look at things, the framework you set is going to predict your success or failure. It's going to keep you in the limits, what risks you're going to take. And it will keep you in a comfort zone. That's the beauty of the fixed mindset. It keeps us comfortable. So I was having after a whole day. I was really tired. I went to work at like 5 o'clock was my first meeting. And this person shows up in the evening to have a conversation, and I'm having this conversation. And he says, I would love to sell this, but my wife would not let me sell this. So I kept listening that whole conversation. I said, Mike, how long you will keep lying to yourself? He said, why do you say that? I said, you are lying to yourself. You want your wife to be responsible for your indecisiveness. You want somebody else in your life to make those hard decisions so you don't have to take a leap because your sense of failure is overwhelming to you. And he looked at me and he said, you're right. So that's the connection. That's the connection where you want to be very truthful. And that's the place where I played a little dominant role, where I took control of that conversation. I'm like, Mike, be truthful to yourself and tell me where and how you're going to make this decision. What's important for you? He says, I can't work anymore. I said, I showed you in $500,000 in 3 years, you can generate easily 100 grand a year. And he says, you are right. I've got my son who's working this whole thing and I can really make more money off of it. I said, yes. But you know what he said after that? That was most amazing. He said, in my father's life, and this is very important, I want you to listen to this, even if you missed the whole talk and you slept through it. By the way, you have permission to sleep through it. You have permission not to listen and be unconscious completely and ignore this talk. So what he said was, in my father's life, the most important part was he worked hard, he saved. And that's the picture he was carrying, that I have to save this much and draw out of that piggy bank to pay for everything I need for the rest of my life. And hence I have to work hard. I have to work hard till the last day of my life. If you are carrying that framework, do you think you're going to go and invest in a deal which will create you cash flow so you don't have to work? No. Because you have an overarching image of your father who has probably passed away when you are in 70s, or even if he's living, he still has implanted that in you, that pattern, and you're serving that pattern, and that pattern has a lot of power. It is most powerful thing in your life, and it's going to determine you. It's like me. I'm from India. Any temple I see, any church I see, I'll bow my head. That's automatic. It's ingrained in me. I have been taught to respect God from the childhood. It's an ingrained pattern. So when we are looking at those things, we have to realize, we have to notice, be aware. So what are we really doing? Do we have a fluid mindset or do we have fixed mindset? And what I'm trying to do here is basically change you a little at a time. So that's why all these images are there for a purpose. You see those rocks, that's fixed. But are you going to be like a rock or like a water flowing through? And you will flow around it. So you can have a mindset in social, people judge me. Financially, thinking about what you want in the moment versus thinking long term. For your health, are you working on yourself versus thinking everything is okay now? You buy things to impress others or buy things that you want? Getting rid of things. Things determine your happiness versus actions determining your happiness. Learning. Have you already learned everything, or are you willing to learn something new every day? It is really not simple to just say, okay, I'm going to have a new mindset. It's not like just putting a socket or putting a new programming in there just right away. How do you see it? Is failure an opportunity to grow for you versus failure is where you've reached all the limits of your abilities? And just by sitting here and just by listening and just by being together, I cannot say and emphasize how important it is. Just by being here and being a collective, you have already shifted. Things have already shifted. You just don't change and replace it just like that. So how deeply it's ingrained in your mind? What do you think? How do you look at money, success, other people? What do you talk about it? What do you feel? Do you feel confused, intrigued, inferior, curious? How do you predict the future? COVID is there, the world is going to end, everything is going south. And do you really believe it? Do you want to set your goals very simple so you don't have to worry about it? You shoot low for safety. Or you don't care about anything and you just move forward and charge to conquer the world. Do you see yourself failing, or do you see yourself succeeding in everything you want to do? Do you accept risk as part of the process or stay safe? And if you want to go deeper, who is there who is accepting the risk? Who is that I? 3 areas to look at. How do you behave in front of other people? Do you know you don't know what to do next? Or you don't want to do what's next because you don't want to mess up at all? Now, here's the big spoiler. You can have a great mindset and you can have one part of thing go wrong. Like, let's suppose you're a warrior and you worry about something. You're smart and motivated, but you're great at problem solving. But guess what? Your worry will eventually get to you because you are triggering that mindset. You're triggering that neurology. So how do you really get the whole thing? How do you really get better? That's the big challenge for everyone. And the best way to start is work on that single belief which is holding you back. Whatever it is. So instead of mindset, just isolate it. You can be really good at what you do, and you know that it will be keep doing better each time. You can think about it, you can figure anything out. All the problems you have met throughout this life, all the stories you have been telling, you have to look at it. Are they true or are they just one perspective? You find solutions, haven't you? That's why you are here. And you are here because you want to find an easier, simpler, and usable way to do things. To just remember to connect. And I would take you a little bit further. And this is something like as a child, you wanted a truck, you wanted a toy. You shared that with somebody. This is what I wanted. You shared that with your mom, your dad. And probably some of you may have memory. Some of you may not. You were still looking for that toy. But suddenly that toy appeared. You had that car. You had that bike. You had that Xbox for the new generation people. You had that game. Or you had that app. Whatever you wanted, or you got that new iPhone. That somehow appeared because you imagined, you wanted it. You put that everything into motion. So that enthusiasm and curiosity and imagination, we lose over a period of time. And I want you to bring that back a little bit. See your failures as feedback. And I would invite you to not live the present from the past. Most of us live in past present. I would introduce you to the future present, what's coming your way. And use that pull method to pull yourself into the future you desire, in the future you want to create. And it is very important that you do that in a way to bring in the things you like and you want to enjoy. Because past is nothing more than a story and a perspective. You bring it into the present, and unfortunately, you recreate your past. because that creates your past determines your future. And you keep moving into future with those past coordinates. It's like me resetting my address to home and coming back in Dallas while I want to go to New York. So if I have to go to New York, I have to set that in my GPS. It may take me 2 days, 3 hours of flight or whatever it is, but I will reach New York at some point in my life. So it's very important that we do that. So do have that curiosity, empathy for other people, listen and connect. And with that, I will come to an end so I can give a little time for transition. And yes, you can really do it. Connect. Capital raising is a game of a team. It's aligning. It's looking at the interests for others, of others, and helping each other grow. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chander. That was really, really powerful. That was a really, really powerful presentation. Thank you so much. And then it was really, really insightful to learn about our own neural network, because we all have a neural network. And every time we learn a new skill, we create a new neuron. And then how we have to practice to connect with the neuron that is part of the network, right? So it becomes our habit, or it becomes our second nature. So that's how our outer world is too. When we connect with other people, when we are expanding our network, we have to nourish our relations. It's just like a practice. Wow, I love it. And then other takeaways for me is, you said, be imaginative, be curious, be flexible, and do not have any preconceived notions. I really like that, because whenever we meet with somebody, we should take their face value one time we are meeting versus bringing the whole baggage. And that's just gonna not work completely, because we already know they're gonna say no, because we are fearful to say, okay, I'm gonna ask him for money, tell him about my deal. He's not gonna like it, he's gonna say no. So we already know the answer versus we just go with the open mind. Loved it. Seriously, thank you, Chander. And I think we do have tons of questions maybe in the chat. Let me ask. Let me see.
Okay, definitely.
Okay. Tim says, thank you. I like the GPS analogy. I wish my wife, also an anesthesiologist, could have heard it. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Ryan says, nice work, Chander. Let me see. And there is another question. Thank you, Chander. Can you share about Blue Ocean and types of sponsors you work with, or do you syndicate your own deals?
Both. We syndicate our own deals and we work with other GPs for partnership.
Great. Any questions more? If you have, please unmute yourself or put in the chat. There is another one from, let me see. Joe says, great presentation, Chander. I'm happy to have invested with you.
I have one question. How do you read the situation in terms of where you should be sort of dominant versus where you should be more supportive? I mean, I do understand we should be focusing from within first, but let's say I do make sure that I go in with an open mindset. How do I know that maybe this is the time for me to lead the conversation versus this is the time, or this is the kind of person I should be more supportive in the conversation? Is there some sort of a guideline for that?
Yes. So if you are in that doubt, be supportive.
Okay.
It's like a dance. Okay. So take 10 steps with them, and then they will probably take 1 step with you.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's if you are in doubt, go to subordinate mode. Be curious. You know, so they may not do a business with you today, but 10 years later, I have so many people who call me, honestly, who I had reached for my first deal. And they said, hey, I talked to you. I met you at this event. Do you have a deal going on? Can you send me a deal? And I said, no, I don't have a deal going on, but I can send you somebody who I like and I would invest with if I had extra passive cash. And I'll send them to some other sponsor. And it happens all the time because you are just so connected with everything going on with you. If you do not have faith and trust in you, you're not going to get faith and trust from outside.
Makes sense. Thank you. Also, sorry, one more question. Is there anywhere where I can learn more about this work of yours? Anywhere you expand more on this, like a website or something?
No, it's not. it's it's called University of Hard Knocks, you know. So, and it's one of those things. I used to go to a lot of connections and events and stuff like that till I finally figured out that it's not about sending emails and sending texts, or it's about really listening to a person, listening, going to and figuring out what they really need, and that will help you everything, your relationship, your job. uh, you know, I deal with one of my bigger thing is that I lead a big department, and I listen to complaints whole day, and so every time I have to be curious to come to a solution. What happened? You know, how do people took it? How do people interacted? Why? What was the environment? So it's the framework and the filter you're using. You know, if you're already charged up because you think that person is adversarial and he has never been aligned with you before, then that person is going to exactly behave that way. Just do this today. Like yesterday night, I was talking to a cardiology fellow, the same thing. I said, next time you go and meet this person, you just be very open and just meet them with a very open mind. And he said, you know, it worked. It's your neurology determines your experience.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's another question for you, Chander. Chander, do you advise people, meaning I own self-storage and want to expand more in this asset class?
What kind of advice?
Mike, Michael, you wanted to go off mute or unmute yourself?
Yeah, not a problem. Hi, how are you, everybody? Yeah, well, I own a couple of self-storage facilities and I want to expand more. And, you know, we're just, you know, some of the guys I work with are the money raisers, and I'm just trying to learn about that more. And I'm obviously on this call for that purpose, but it's, you know, it's one of the most difficult areas to get involved in, just because it's, you know, it takes a lot of time and effort and all those things. So I'm always looking to get more information from people on a one-on-one basis, but maybe you don't do that, or maybe you can give me some advice on that.
Mike, so one filter which I see in you is that it is the most difficult area. Look at your language. Okay.
Okay.
It's not difficult. Nothing in this world is difficult. So remove that one. Okay. I would not look at anything as difficult. Look at, okay, probably you do not know. Probably you seek certain degree of information. Probably you seek certain degree of people who can create some things which you can use. But it's really not difficult. Okay.
Okay.
So it's easy. You have these thousands of people here, probably at least 40 of them are here, who have done this to some degree. And,
okay.
And if those people can do it, you can do it. There's every kind of resource in today's world available for you to connect and grow. It's just that you may have to pay money, you may have to pay time, you may have to work with them. I do not know. Okay. And if you really want to chat with me, my email and my phone number is there. Definitely. I would be happy to help you with any way I can. It's just that I'll tell you my time is usually limited, and it takes me a couple of weeks to get back to people. But I'm definitely open to that if you need if you just want to chat.
Well, I'm getting so many deals are coming across my desk now that, you know, my partners, you know, I'm just new to this. I'm not new to real estate. I've been in real estate for 30 years, but my partners are the syndication money raisers, so to speak. And I kind of want to learn more about that because that's holding me back, so to speak. And I don't want to say that meaning that it's a bad thing. It's just that I need to learn more about it. And I just need I bring a lot to the table, of course, but I kind of looking to partner with somebody that maybe can help me do that, because I'm getting so many wonderful deals coming across my desk that I can't even find people to help me invest in them. So it's a good problem to have, but I'm kind of stuck, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, just for this simple reason that you made that statement, I bet there are 10,000 people here who can help you grow your business.
Well,
So,
that's fabulous. So
so
that's why I'm on here.
that's
because I
one
wanna
part,
network.
you know, so you already made that declaration that you need help in that part. I think I just missed Chander or in my email I typed. So yeah, you can reach out to me. My email is there, and I'll be happy to share any strategies which I am aware about to grow and listen to the people who are coming after me and during this event. A lot of great
Okay.
people and a lot of great insights.
Fabulous. Well, I'll put my email address in here and whoever wants to contact me, I see several people have reached out, which is fabulous. Thank you so much for all of you. I really appreciate that. And I'll put my email here and you can all contact me as well and we can chat about stuff and
We all
maybe
can
create something
become
wonderful.
self-storage king, just like you are.
Nice.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
that's why we are here. We are here to help each other grow.
That's true. And we're creating our own storage, Michael. We're gonna have a digital directory that we're gonna have everybody's name and contact information. So that's our virtual storage, you can say, or cloud storage space for us. So next question is from Christine. Christine, you wanted to go off mute and ask your question, or would you like me to ask?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. What a great presentation that you just gave, Chander. You kind of touched me, but that's probably what you were trying to do, right?
I was just trying to get you into action.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to mention, I don't necessarily know if it was a question, but Tim had asked, and I just said, hey, Tim, that was a great, you had mentioned about capital raising with physicians and any specific advice that you might have in that area.
So you just have to look at it. Everyone is a human.
Great.
Okay. And we all have few basic needs. Unfortunately, physicians are highly critical. They have a lot of fear, but they would not confess to it. They try to run away from what they don't know. And they require a lot of data.
Yes.
So the trust factor is a big thing because they would keep asking questions till. So I usually, one of the things with me is that I'll kind of groom physicians over a period of a year or two before I have them invest in the deal.
And how do you groom them? Like, is this just a matter of just setting them up on an email touch? Is it every once in a while you send them a message, set up a phone call? What are your touches?
Phone call, personal meetings, talking to them just in general, wherever I meet them. And I say, hey, how is that? So they will usually ask me, hey, how is the real estate stuff going? How is the deal? And then they'll say, oh, I have to invest for my kids' college or something like that. Do you think I should buy a single family home or do 529 or do you think I should just passively invest? And then you just just further that conversation. You say, okay, so what are your goals? What you really want to do? Because ultimately you just have to be very clear that any investing has a risk. And you don't have to tell them, look, you cannot guarantee any return. So you just have to see, okay, this is going to be the worst case. And
I'm glad that you mentioned that because as someone who would be talking with people, there is some kind of responsibility that you kind of feel like it's on your shoulders to be able to put them in a performing positive way.
yes. And
I'm glad that you mentioned.
You just say that, okay, you be very clear, it's possible that this property may not perform and I'll be happy just to get the capital back. But
That's great.
But that's the same thing. Like I was looking at my retirement portfolio which is invested in stocks. It has kind of jumped back and forth from $700,000 to $400,000 in just this year. So $300,000 value just gone out of nothing. And But that doesn't happen in multifamily or real estate. Unless until you just totally gamble on something.
I understand.
So just be open in talking about stuff, because you want that connection. You're not selling a deal. Never sell a deal. Never sell anything.
You're just offering an opportunity for
Yeah.
them to provide a vehicle.
Vehicle. That's it. And you just tell them you don't know everything. You know a portion of it.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a problem saying, I might not have the answer right now on the call, but I'm happy to follow up with you and get you the answer.
Yes. And just let them know that may not be the complete situation. That may be just portion of what you are aware. There's in every situation, there's DK. I say, don't know. What you don't know, you don't know.
Absolutely. Something from Landmark, it sounds like.
Yes, it is from Landmark. Yes.
Oh, you've done Landmark.
Yes.
Great.
Excellent. I don't think you're somebody hiding in the candy store, that's for sure. Thank you for the opportunity to share this moment with you. I've written your information down.
Thank you.
Many blessings.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be here and chat with you guys.
And thanks, Christine. That was good conversation. Good question. Appreciate it. So, Chander, I want to ask you something. I do not have questions in the chat, but I wanted you to touch on something, like it's kind of, I'm going to say kind of cliche. Everybody says that be a problem solver, right? But most of the time for the average person, when you say, oh, be a problem solver, be at the solving end versus just complaining or just finger pointing on somebody, okay, he did that, she did that. So what exactly that means, being a problem solver, just being resourceful, connecting dots, or how should you be a problem solver? The key thing is maybe embracing that problem or thinking that problem is your problem. So I would like you to talk about that a little bit. That's going to be really helpful as well.
Okay, so it's very interesting because just so you know, in any problem, okay, and this comes from my own experience. The solution never lies at the level of problem. Does that make sense to you guys? To you, Vinky?
It does.
Okay.
But
So-
I think you should make it like more open for all the audience because everybody has different processing power.
So when you are looking at a problem, okay, and so I'll give you an answer from different perspectives, okay? So I'll give you an answer from psychological perspective. If you are just hooked into a problem, so you hook into a problem just to get information, but you don't stay there. And then you shift into a higher state, and then you shift into that solution mode where you are creating solutions for that issue. Now, I think if I can correctly read it, what you are asking is, how do you transition that internal judgment or that internal resistance when you are in a problem or internal stuckness? That how do you get rid of that stuckness? And the best way is to be amused, and not let it overtake you. Be curious and be amused. So that will unglue you from there. Does that answers your question?
Yeah, it does. That was a perfect answer. That was really good. And the other question that I wrote down when you were giving your presentation is, a lot of us, especially the capital raisers, because people are always looking for capital and they're creating this thought all the time. I need capital, right? It's like versus I have it already. It's always, I need to raise 2 million for this particular deal and I do not have it. That's the second thought. And the third thought comes, how do I do it? My drip system is not working. People are not responding. So all these negative thoughts are there. And I think we are just like kind of giving some power to those. and the thing does not work out the way we want it, or we are not able to meet our $2 million goal or $2 million raise. So anything that you can add there.
Yeah, so very simple. Okay, so it all depends upon what do you have, what have you thought about money, how you look at money. If you look at money as something which is kind of very stuck, very hard, very difficult, it takes years worth of work to create it, and so on and so forth, it is going to be difficult because you've already set that framework. But if you look at money which flows freely through the world, which it does, if you guys look at how many $1 trillion are being spent and created, every day, it doesn't take much work to create money. So if you look at your assumptions, so one part is look at your assumptions. And the second part is I'll share with you is basically understanding that you as a person is always going to have somebody, like have a network of people who can reset you. If you find yourself there, you always have a person who you can call who can reset you back to your neutrality and your position of power. Your position of power is always being open to the field of possibility. So if you are just sometimes stuck and everything seems overwhelming and not working, so that's like a stuckness state, and you just want to move. And that movement comes very simply by just having a neutral person, give a call to them, have a friend or somebody, and always have one or two such people who you can call anytime and run things by them and allow you to take that step and go on and do it.
Great. That was so simple, right?
Yeah, it's really not that challenging. You always want to have one or two people around you. That's why it's a game of togetherness. So your neurologist is upset, you just reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm not in the best place with this, just talk to me. And that's it.
Are you going to share your number with us, with all of us, so we know who to call?
It's there. Yeah, it's just very simple. You just, you can talk to anybody. So what happens is that you can just go and have a nice lunch and just take that feeling and kind of superimpose on your limitation. So the limitation disappears.
Great. Oh my God, that was super powerful. I think it was a power-packed presentation, Chander. I cannot thank you enough. Super grateful to have you with us today. There's a lot of takeaways and then a lot of golden nuggets. Would you be able to share your slides with us? Just kind of a refresher for us later on to look at it and remember your words, because I know whatever we hear or whatever we see, whether we are paying attention or not, no attention, we subconsciously absorbing everything. So I'm pretty sure if we miss out on something, looking at the slides, we'll be able to recall everything.
I'll send you the slides. And you already have the recording.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So we can do that. Yeah, please share that too.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
You
So
take
any
care.
more questions for Chander today?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Hey, Chander, initially when you started, you talk briefly about NLP principles and all. NLP itself is a very big subject. So many areas you can apply. But of course, sometimes once in a while, I try to go through some books and all. Later, I feel overwhelmed, even though it is a mesmerizing subject. Is there any way you can kind of some few principles, some core principles you can share with us, or maybe doesn't have to be right away, maybe share some message later or something?
Yeah, so it's very simple. So neuro-linguistic programming is just a set of looking into how a human mind kind of processes information. It's mostly grounded in language. So by language and how a person holds themselves in some physiology, like eye movement and everything else, it kind of predicts what the brain is doing. So your question is prominently about how to kind of incorporate it. So the best way to incorporate anything is just one chunk at a time. So you take a chunk. So if you want to work on, let's suppose yourself, and you said, okay, anchoring is the one I'm going to go for. Then you go ahead and anchor all your best feelings. So whenever you're feeling low, you can fire a best feeling anchor and you're going to feel good. So what you do is ultimately you're trying to design an internal state control machine. So irrespective of whatever is happening outside, you're always in a great state. So the best way, the easiest way is there are tons of YouTube videos. So you can just go in, watch one video and apply it. NLP is more about application than just learning it. I may have done like at least 20 courses, may have spent a huge amount of money on it. But the part is on each course, I just focused on one thing. Just focus on just one thing, incorporate it, and then focus on the second thing. And then build another. So it's like building your tool. So you say, okay, this is great. I'm going to use this. So every day you meet somebody, you feel great, you know, like you'll see people, you know, who are more into big NLP arena. They're like, this is amazing. I feel great. So they build it up. So every time they feel great, they're like, boom, you know, so they're anchoring it.
Some tapping, someone else tapping as well.
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah.
So they're tapping, they've got anchoring, or they will have a ring or something on the finger. They will activate that to change their physiology. So instead of you, the shift is simple here, very simple. Instead of the circumstances determining your physiology, you become the owner of your physiology. Enhance your reality. So the best will be just pick up one person and just follow it, watch a video, apply it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, very simple.